Welcome back to Sakura Gamer, everyone. In the last episode in Exposition, Neko Hime here is giving us a lesson on the different components of a visual novel. So in a visual novel, a CG is any piece of artwork used to depict a complex scene which can't be properly expressed with sprites and backgrounds. For instance, an image of Suki reclining on the couch holding her tablet would count as a CG. Well,
oh
thank you,
my god,
game.
we're gonna get a freaking lesson, aren't we?
And incidentally, that's what she happens to be doing right now. Now this looks like a familiar sight.
Hey, Nekohime!
Suki lifts her head and gives me a bright smile.
Did you finish that list of required art assets for me?
Yeah, I updated the online doc, so you should be able to access it.
That's great, thank you.
And, I was wondering...
What?
You have quite a lot of work on your plate.
That's right.
Aren't you worried about meeting the deadline?
Nah, I'll be fine.
Are you sure?
My grandmother was horrid, but her harsh instruction helped me a lot. She made me spend hours and hours practicing my calligraphy. After that, drawing a few pieces of background art should be a piece of cake.
Well...
Bam, chair. Bam, table.
If
Bam,
you're
couch.
sure...
I'm always sure. I can handle it. I'm just gonna put a overlay of a net on this here couch for no goddamn reason.
She gives me a thumbs up.
And if the workload gets too heavy, I can ask Clover for help.
Is Clover good at digital art?
She's not as good as me, but she dabbles. I can ask her to paint in the clouds and the grass and the backgrounds and the CGs. That's not too hard.
You're going to split the work to save time?
Yep, it's quite common for visual novels to have lead artists who draw the characters and assistant artists who handle the backgrounds and other tiny details. That's actually how most manga work. It increases the overall productivity of the production team and helps products get released faster.
You know quite a lot about this, huh?
Of course, we're aiming to be professionals after all.
But what if you can't draw all the CGs in time? We can't release a finished product with sketches and placeholders.
Let's see.
Suki ponders, idly tapping her tablet pen against her lower lip.
If it comes to that, we can always just use a few shortcuts. Because art assets are some of the most time-consuming and expensive assets to produce, a lot of visual novels reuse their CGs.
So they'll display the same CG more than once.
Exactly. A lot of CGs are deliberately designed so they can be repurposed in multiple parts of the story. For example, in a visual novel with a lot of fight scenes, there might be a CG of a character holding a sword.
And this single CG image can be reused every single time the same character is engaged in a sword fight.
Yep, scrimping and saving can go a long way. Oh, but you don't want to reuse CGs too much. It has to be done at the right moment or it'll look cheap. Scenes have to be written carefully without too many unique details so they can match a single CG seamlessly. For example, the CG of a character with a sword might have daytime lighting. In that case, you can't use the CG during a fight that takes place at night, even if the character's holding a sword in both scenes. Artists and writers should work together hand in hand so the art assets blend with the story to enhance it.
We had that problem with Sakura Angels when the background of the city often argued with what the writing was. If you remember that,
it got dark out, broad-ass daylight!
Or how much rain was being poured down on the streets and it was clear as day, or, well, a clear night, starry sky kind of situation. It was interesting. Anyway, go ahead.
If the art assets don't match the writing, it'll detract from the experience, which it did.
It didn't occur to me until just now, but I have to say this is a great way to introduce the concepts of how the cooking is made, how the sausage is made, by putting the instructions on the sausage. That was a terrible metaphor. But my point is...
Like to put your sausage? Sorry, I'll stop.
Go on.
Nah, that's all I got.
Go on.
If I go on, it'll become NC-17 and we'll get content ID'd or something. Not content, but
right now the channel's
flag.
demonetized. It doesn't matter.
Dicks!
Anyway, but no, remember that game, the Grumps played it. I own it, but I haven't played it yet. Japanese game. Is it Go-Go Nippon?
Yes, Go-Go Nippon.
So for those who don't know, Go-Go Nippon is sort of a visual novel, but it's mainly designed to teach you Japanese, and one of the coolest things it does is it shows every line that's spoken in both English and Japanese, because, again, it's intended to teach you Japanese. and you go around to different sites in the game where your Japanese friend teaches you about the history of the place. But like, it's a game, but it's also a teaching tool. It teaches you how or what those scenes are in Japan. So this style of using of showing the example of what they're talking about in the visual novel is actually a really good idea. More games should do this. This is pretty smart. This is very smart. Anyway, continue.
In that case, you'd be better off writing an ordinary novel.
I see. I nod my head, one hand under my chin. Maybe I should have brought a notepad with me to write all this down. Suki's surprisingly good at giving out advice. And for some reason, I'm experiencing a surprising sense of deja vu. That's funny. The following day. Hey, Clover, how's the music coming along?
Oh, Nekohime!
Clover spins about on her swivel chair and gives me a bright smile.
It's going good. I think I've sketched out a couple of the tracks, including the title theme.
Did you listen to the references I gave you?
I sure did. You were really thorough with the references you sent, Nekohime. It was super helpful.
I'm sorry if I sent you over too much. I just want everything to be perfect.
Some things never change.
I don't know much about music production. It might not be possible to do everything I want.
Well, some of the tracks you sent me were a little complex. I could probably produce tracks of that caliber if I had some more time, but this is quite the tight deadline we have here.
I know. I hope my expectations weren't too high.
Oh, that isn't an issue. Don't lower your expectations on my account, boss. I tried to do the best with the time I have. Don't expect miracles, but I think this rough draft sounds pretty good.
Clover clicks on about her computer and opens up a complex-looking program with dials and buttons all over the place. I stare at it. Even with my glasses on, everything starts merging together. What program is this exactly?
This is a pretty standard tool for digital composers. It's kind of tricky to use at first, but it gets the job done. I just realized some of the synths there are too loud. Give me a second, I'll adjust the levels for you.
I watch Clover as she works. Though my eyes are trained on the screen, I can't make heads nor tails of the complex process unfolding before me.
Can I just say I've always wanted to futz about with a program like that, but I don't want to drop the dosh on it?
If you ever want to really dick around with some very basic music, the most basic one's called Fruity Loops, and a lot of people recommend that as your first music production delay. Because what Fruity Loops does is it just lets you mix and match samples and loops, hence the loops. So it lets you make basic electronic music. It's definitely nothing that's going to get you any awards, but like it's designed to be baby's first music maker, which that makes it sound derisive, but I actually have a lot of respect for it.
Yeah, like I have a couple of apps on my phone that I futz about with, and I can make like a violin melody or a piano melody, but that's it.
That's cool. Actually, if you ever are interested, if you want to get Fruity Loops, because I believe it's free. I believe Fruity Loops is free. It allows you to use samples that are other WAV files. So you could make a violin melody on your phone and then upload it as a WAV or whatever, and then import it into Fruity Loops and use it into Fruity Loops.
Neat.
I can help you get all that set up. Once we're off, even though we're recording. But anyway, I will say, like, for relevance, when we started the channel, I thought about getting it for a channel theme. And I'm glad I didn't have to, since Brian Hazard of Color Theory provides us with our ending themes.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian Hazard.
Seriously, dude.
I don't have to credit him. Like, that was part of what was part of the deal, was that he told me I didn't have to credit him, which is why I don't. But
fuck off with that shit. Go listen to his music. It's great if you like Depeche Mode.
Yes. Anyway, so I thought about writing my own song through Fruity Loops, but I'm shit at music production. So that's why we use Color Theory. But if you are ever interested...
Yep.
We can always have a different theme for the show.
I'm sure I'm going to be shit, but you know what? Being shit at something is the start of being sort of good at something. So,
very Clover-like.
Adventure time.
Anyway, she's opening a lot of drop-down menus. Seriously, a lot of drop-down menus. I make myself comfortable on Clover's bed while I wait, hugging one of her many stuffed pillows to my chest.
I could make a really dark joke right now, but I won't.
We really are doing this. Clover and I, our dream, is coming true. Finally, after 10 years, the fruits of our labor are beginning to take shape. And man, that's a good feeling. The next day...
Oh, did you start coding it together already?
That's right. I made this engine myself in the 1 week that we had. So it's rather basic, but I don't think visual novels need to be too complex.
So long as there's an option to skip the text you've already read in enough save slots, you really can't go wrong. Why didn't we just use RenP?
Also, I was trying to make the graphics user interface look as unintrusive as possible so it doesn't interference with the reading experience. I will say the interface in this one is very good, so props to whoever designed this.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know why I'm circling the mouse, they can't see it. Anyway, but what do you think?
Let me take a look.
I slide my laptop over to Suki. She sets it on her lap and peers...
the art's got to be part of that too, because you need to set the user interface in a place where there's not a whole shitload going on.
Yes. I actually had to give that piece of advice to Lena when she first started working on her show for her YouTube channel, because she'd put her episode count in the bottom right corner of her thumbnails, and that's why I told her you can't do that, because that's where YouTube puts the time number.
Yes.
So if you ever notice an hour thumbnails, I never have anything important in the bottom right corner because it's always going to be covered up. So you always want negative space in that corner.
Yep.
Always think negative space.
Look around for the user interface of the site you're using to display your stuff and work with that.
Exactly. I slide my laptop over to Suki. She sets it on her lap and peers at it, one hand beneath her chin. She blinks.
You made this entire engine yourself?
I had to look for a few things up online, but more or less...
You know, there are a lot of visual novels out there that you can use already. There's PawnScriptor, but that's quite old, and there's also Kari. RenP is free and has a lot of functionality, but is typically used by Western developers. It also isn't compatible with heavily animated sprites.
I know there are some engines available online, but I wanted to make this one myself. Okay, sure.
So it does everything you want it to?
Exactly. If you want something done properly, you should do it yourself.
You really are a control freak, Nekohime.
Maybe, but I didn't spend all that time learning how to code for nothing. Clover's working hard on the music, so I wanted to work hard too.
But you're already doing the writing.
That's true, but it wouldn't feel like our project if we didn't make absolutely everything ourselves. I want our circle to have our own engine. We deserve to have our own engine. Oh, I can sort of see that.
Yep, and now if they keep doing this, they'll have that engine to build off of too.
Yes.
So there's another reason to do everything yourself.
Okay. Alright, Nekohime, you got me on that one. I don't want anybody or anything else getting in the way.
Aw, Nekohime, you're such a hard worker.
Suki smiles and pats the top of my head. Yeah, I purr, batting her at her hand with my curled up fingers. Suki fiddles around with the test build for Miko made for a while. As far as visual novel engines go, it's quite simple. You can advance the text by pressing space shift or using the mouse. Let's see if that works.
I mean, we haven't
works.
We haven't read any of the stuff yet, so we can't really advance.
Well, yeah, but like space advances the text, so I don't have to click. I kind of wish I knew that. That way I can keep the mouse out of the screen for you. Anyway, I also added controller functionality, so a prospective buyer could use a VS4 or Hexbox controller to play the visual novel if they want. Or a Swatch. The player can control the speed of the text advances in the Preferences menu. Menus can be accessed by left-clicking with the mouse, or clicking on the buttons nestled at the side of the text box. These are called quick links. It's a system that runs exactly like any other visual novel, but I'm still proud of it. It took me a few days, despite how simple it is, and I'm glad my hard work paid off. Suki looks impressed at least. She nods her head and gives me a thumbs up.
It's good.
Are you sure the GUI isn't too ugly? GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. In this case, the GUI refers to the text box and the menus. I made them myself in Photo Store, but I'm no graphics designer. They fulfill their basic purpose, but they're not particularly eye-catching.
Well, let me see.
Suki points toward the text box. She taps the screen with one pink fingernail.
I think this is a little too blocky and it obscures too much of the screen. One of the biggest appeals of a visual novel is the visuals. If the text box obscures the sprites and the backgrounds too much, it gets in the way.
Should I make it thinner?
And transparent, maybe. Let's see. What would you say the main theme of the story is?
Maids and shrine maidens.
Exactly. We should have some sort of visual motif running throughout the GUI that fits the overarching theme.
So, maybe some frilly ribbons or some teacups?
That's it. If we put a teacup here, then...
Suki gets her tablet and starts doing a rough sketch, her tongue poking out of the corner of her mouth. Less than 10 seconds later, she hands the tablet over to me.
Ta-da!
I tilt my head to one side. Though it's only a mock-up, Suki's rendition of the text box has a lot more character than my own. My placeholder text box was a blocky thing, one made of solid colors, but this text box has a lot of character. It's white with red ribbons around the edges, which ties nicely into the Shrine Maiden theme, and there's a teacup in the bottom right-hand corner to add some visual flair.
Do you like it?
It's adorable.
Might have to do a few tweaks here and there, but this should work. When I've finished with it, do you want me to upload it to our online folder? Then you can drop it into the game.
That's a great idea.
And about the other menus.
The Save, Load, and Preferences menu?
We should spice them up a little too, following a similar theme. Like so.
We will check out her mock-ups of those menus in the next episode. This really is a good game to show you how the process is for making one of these.
Yep. I like it.
I feel like I kind of under-respected it when we got started, but like all of the... Because Nekohime's personality is really annoying.
Yep, and Suki's got a few personality flaws herself, but like they're weirdly human in that way, because I'm sure we all know people like these guys.
Probably. But I'm just saying, like, once they start discussing the art and production, those are actually really good pieces of advice. The writing advice earlier was really good, too, especially. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode.
Bye!